When was the last time you sat in silence, not scrolling, not planning, not worrying, just listening? In that silence, something greater than words is speaking. The universe is whispering. The only question is, are you listening? Silence has a depth that words can never fully capture. In a world that is constantly buzzing with notifications, conversations, and endless streams of information, silence has become rare, almost uncomfortable for many. Yet silence is not empty, it is full, rich, and profound. It is the very space where the universe begins to speak. Imagine standing by a still lake in the early morning. The air is quiet, the water unmoving, and even your breath feels amplified. In that stillness, something shifts inside you. Your senses heighten, your thoughts settle, and suddenly you notice life in its purest form. That is the voice of the universe, not in words, but in presence. Noise has a way of drowning out what truly matters. The noise isn't always external. It often comes from within. Thoughts race, worries stack up, and the inner dialogue never seems to stop. When the mind is full of chatter, there is no space left to hear anything else. This is why silence is essential. It is like clearing a crowded room so a single, clear voice can be heard. The universe doesn't force its wisdom upon us. It waits patiently in the background. The moment we quiet the mind, the whisper becomes noticeable. It's not dramatic, it's subtle, almost fragile, but once you catch it, you realize it's been speaking all along. Silence also changes our relationship with time. In silence, minutes feel longer, moments feel deeper, and life itself slows down. This slowing is not wasted, it's an invitation. When you allow silence into your life, you begin to see what usually goes unnoticed. The small details, the faint patterns, the gentle flow of existence. Think about the quiet before dawn. It feels different from any other time of day. That silence carries a sacredness, a sense of possibility, as if the universe is holding its breath before creation begins again. By immersing yourself in silence, you align with this rhythm. You stop resisting the flow of life and start moving with it. The irony is that many people run from silence because it feels uncomfortable. They fear what will arise when the distractions fade, the unresolved thoughts, the unspoken emotions, the truths they've been avoiding. But that is exactly why silence is powerful. It brings everything to the surface. And though it may feel overwhelming at first, it is the beginning of clarity. The universe uses silence as a mirror, reflecting back what needs attention, healing, or release. If you can sit with that discomfort, eventually it transforms into understanding. Silence, then, is not absence. It is transformation in progress. There is also a sacred quality to shared silence. When two people sit together in silence, without the need to fill the space with words, a deeper connection is formed. This is proof that silence communicates. It speaks through energy, presence, and intention. In the same way, when you sit in silence with the universe, you enter into a relationship beyond words. It feels like being in the presence of something vast yet intimate. The trees, the sky, the stars, they all seem to participate in this silent dialogue. What they say cannot be translated into human language, but it is understood by the heart. Ultimately, silence is the first language of the universe because it is universal. Every culture, every tradition, every path of wisdom recognizes the value of stillness. Long before there were books, teachings, or philosophies, there was silence. It is the ground of all sound, the space before the first word, the canvas on which life paints itself. When you embrace silence, you return to that origin. You rediscover that the universe does not need to explain itself. It simply exists, and in that existence, it communicates everything. To listen, then, is not to strain your ears, but to quiet your mind, to soften your heart, and to allow silence to reveal what it has always been saying. Life has never stopped teaching. The challenge is that most of us have stopped listening. We often look for wisdom in books, lectures, or experts, forgetting that the most profound lessons are woven into the very fabric of everyday life. Step outside, and the universe begins its class without a single word. A sunrise does not explain itself, yet it teaches consistency and renewal. The shifting of seasons does not demand attention, yet it reveals the cycles of change that govern everything. To live as a student of the universe is to recognize that every moment, every encounter, every detail is a lesson waiting to be understood. Consider the simple fall of a leaf from a tree. It may appear ordinary, yet within that small act lies a profound truth. The leaf does not cling to the branch when its time has passed. It lets go with grace, floating gently to the ground. In that moment, it teaches impermanence. It reminds us that holding on too tightly to what no longer serves us only creates suffering. Just as the leaf releases itself to the wind, we too must learn to release relationships, habits, and phases of life that have run their course. This is not loss. It is the natural rhythm of existence, and the leaf demonstrates it without complaint. Water is another teacher that speaks constantly, though without words. Watch a river flow, and you'll see resilience in motion. It doesn't fight obstacles. It finds a way around them. If blocked, it carves new paths, shaping landscapes over centuries. In this, water teaches adaptability. It shows us that resistance only exhausts us, while flexibility allows us to continue moving forward. Even more, water teaches humility. It always seeks the lowest ground, never competing for height, and yet it nourishes all life. What would happen if we lived with the same humility, adapting to challenges and serving quietly, instead of always seeking to be above others? Mountains, too, are powerful teachers. They rise high, unmoved by storms, unshaken by seasons, standing tall for centuries. From them, we learn patience and strength. They remind us that greatness is not built in a day, but through endurance. A mountain does not rush, it simply is. Its presence alone speaks of stability and rootedness. When you face challenges in life, recall the mountain. Remain firm in your values, unshaken by temporary storms. Like the mountain, you don't need to announce your strength. You embody it through stillness and endurance. Even the smallest details of daily life can become lessons if we pay attention. A candle burning in silence teaches us that giving light to others does not diminish our own flame. The stars at night remind us of perspective, showing how vast the universe is compared to our problems. A bird building its nest twig by twig teaches patience and diligence, showing that small, consistent actions create security and comfort. These lessons are not delivered through lectures or textbooks. They are delivered through presence, through observation, through a willingness to notice what is already there. When you begin to see everything as a teacher, life itself transforms into a sacred classroom. Frustrations become opportunities to practice patience. Mistakes become guides for growth. Even people who challenge us, the difficult coworker, the impatient driver, the critic, become instructors teaching humility, tolerance, and self-control. The universe doesn't choose when to teach, it is always teaching. The only question is whether we are willing to learn. To embrace this truth is to live with open eyes, open ears, and most importantly, an open heart. There are moments in life when you simply know something without being able to explain why. You feel a quiet nudge, an inner pull, or a sudden clarity that seems to arise from nowhere. This is intuition, and it is more than just a feeling. It is the voice of the universe within you. Intuition bypasses logic and reason, speaking directly to the heart. While the mind relies on analysis and facts, intuition operates through connection and awareness. It is as if a part of you is tuned into a frequency that cannot be measured, but always guides you toward alignment with truth. When you ignore it, you often sense regret. When you follow it, the path seems to unfold more smoothly. as if life itself is working with you. Intuition is not random, nor is it a magical gift reserved for a select few. It is a natural ability that every human carries, much like sight or hearing. The challenge is that we often silence it beneath layers of doubt, fear, and overthinking. Society teaches us to value logic above all else, but logic is not always enough. You may logically weigh every detail, yet still feel uneasy about a decision. That unease is intuition trying to speak. It whispers, not shouts, which is why many miss it. To hear it, you must create stillness inside yourself, because a restless mind drowns out its gentle guidance. In truth, intuition is like a compass. The needle always points the way, but you must pause long enough to notice it. Think about times in your life when you followed your intuition. Perhaps you avoided a situation that later proved harmful. Maybe you felt drawn to an opportunity that changed everything for the better. Often, people describe these moments as a gut feeling or just knowing. Science might explain it as the subconscious gathering subtle signals, but that explanation does not diminish its power. Whether you see it as instinct, subconscious intelligence, or a universal voice, the result is the same. It guides you toward alignment with what is right for you. The key is not to demand proof, but to trust the process. Intuition rarely explains itself, but it always reveals itself in hindsight. It is important to distinguish intuition from impulse. Impulse is loud, urgent, and fueled by desire or fear. Intuition is quiet, steady, and calm. It doesn't pressure you, it invites you. For example, if you feel a sudden urge to make a reckless choice, that's likely impulse. But if you feel a subtle, persistent sense that something is right or wrong, that's intuition. It is not emotional in the way excitement or fear is. Instead, it is steady, like a soft drumbeat beneath the noise of the world. The more you practice listening, the easier it becomes to tell the difference between the two. Developing intuition requires trust. Trusting yourself, trusting life, and trusting that not everything needs to be proven before it can be followed. This is difficult in a world that celebrates certainty, data, and logic. Yet, some of the greatest decisions in history were guided not by reason, but by intuition. Inventors, explorers, artists, and leaders often speak of a feeling that drove them forward when nothing else made sense. This is why cultivating intuition is vital. It connects you to a deeper intelligence, one that logic alone cannot reach. To build this trust, start small. Listen to your inner nudges in daily life, whether it's taking a different route home, reaching out to someone you suddenly think of, or pausing when something feels off. Each time you honor intuition, you strengthen it. Ultimately, intuition is the voice of the universe within you because it comes from the same source. It is not something you acquire, it is something you uncover by removing noise and doubt. When you follow it, you feel aligned, supported, and at peace, even if the path ahead is uncertain. Intuition doesn't guarantee a life without challenges, but it ensures you walk a life true to yourself. It is a reminder that the universe does not only speak through signs outside of you, it also speaks through the wisdom already within. To listen to intuition is to remember that you are not separate from the universe. You are an expression of it. Every challenge that enters our life feels, at first, like an unwelcome guest. We resist it, complain about it, and often ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But challenges are rarely accidents. They are messages in disguise, signals from the universe that something within us needs to grow, shift, or awaken. What feels like an obstacle is often a guide. What feels like a setback may be a redirection. The universe does not send difficulties as punishments. It sends them as lessons. The real question is not why me, but what is this trying to teach me? Think about a time you faced a difficulty that seemed unbearable in the moment. Maybe it was a failure, a broken relationship, or a sudden loss. At the time, it felt like the end, but as time passed, you realized it was also the beginning of something else, something you couldn't have imagined then. The job loss that forced you to discover a new passion, the heartbreak that taught you self-respect, the failure that pushed you to develop resilience, the pain you experienced became the soil from which strength grew. Challenges are like coded messages. They arrive wrapped in discomfort, but hidden within them is wisdom that can only be revealed if we're willing to open them. Challenges also act as mirrors. They reflect back to us the areas of our lives where we are unprepared, unbalanced, or unaware. When a person frustrates us, the challenge is not them. It is our own impatience. When we struggle with a project, the challenge is not the task. It is our ability to persevere. The universe uses these moments to show us where we need growth. Instead of blaming the external world, the invitation is to look inward. Every challenge asks, what part of me needs to evolve in order to face this? Once you answer that question honestly, the challenge loses much of its weight. It is no longer an enemy but a teacher. The beauty of challenges is that they transform perspective. What seems like a barrier at first often turns out to be the exact path you needed to take. Imagine climbing a steep hill. Every step feels heavy, every breath is a struggle, and it seems easier to quit. But when you reach the top, you see a view that was invisible from the bottom. The struggle was necessary. It carried you to a higher vantage point. In the same way, life's challenges lift us into new perspectives we would never have seen if the path had been smooth. Without them, growth would stall and life would remain shallow. It is through struggle that depth is created. It is also important to understand that challenges are not meant to last forever. Just like storms, they pass. But while they are here, they reshape the landscape of our lives. They test our endurance, our patience, and our faith. Yet they also reveal our hidden strengths. Many people discover the best parts of themselves during their darkest hours. A challenge is like a fire. It burns, but it also purifies. It strips away illusions and distractions, leaving behind only what is true and essential. When seen this way, challenges lose their bitterness. They may still be painful, but they become purposeful. When you shift your perspective from "this is happening to me" to "this is happening for me," every challenge becomes easier to face. Instead of fighting the universe, you align with it. Instead of resisting, you learn to receive the message. Some lessons are gentle, and others arrive wrapped in hardship, but all of them are necessary for the unfolding of your journey. The universe does not send random chaos. It sends guidance in forms we may not always recognize at first. Challenges, then, are not curses. They are coded wisdom, asking us to listen, to learn, and to rise. The universe does not speak in the past, nor does it speak in the future. It speaks only in the present moment, right here, right now. Presence is the language that unlocks the conversation with life itself. Yet most people spend their days anywhere but the present. Their minds are trapped in memories, regrets, or anxieties about what lies ahead. They replay old scenes or imagine future scenarios, forgetting that neither the past nor the future can actually be lived. Life is unfolding only in this moment, and unless you are present for it, you miss the message. Presence is not just being physically here. It is being aware, awake, and fully attentive to what is happening now. When you are present, even ordinary experiences begin to reveal depth. Drinking a glass of water becomes more than hydration. It becomes gratitude for something so simple yet vital. Listening to the wind move through the trees transforms from background noise into a symphony of life. The warmth of the sun on your skin is no longer unnoticed. It is felt as connection to something vast and nurturing. This is the power of presence. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, because in presence, you finally see what has always been there. The universe doesn't need to change. It has always been speaking. What changes is your ability to listen. Presence also calms the restless mind. The chatter of worries, doubts, and distractions begins to fade when you bring yourself back to the here and now. Think about breathing. You've been breathing all your life, but how often do you notice it? When you stop to focus on a single breath, you immediately anchor yourself in the present. That one breath cannot exist in the past or future. It exists only now. And in that breath, you reconnect to yourself and to life. The universe speaks through these anchors, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the movement of your body, the stillness between sounds. To notice them is to step into direct dialogue with the present moment. One of the greatest obstacles to presence is the mind's obsession with what's next. Always planning, always seeking, always reaching. While planning has its place, it robs you of the richness of now if left unchecked. Imagine sitting at a beautiful sunset, but instead of watching the colors unfold, you're thinking about tomorrow's schedule. The sunset is still there, but you're absent from it. This is how many people live, physically in one place, mentally in another. The universe is speaking in the sunset, but unless you are present, the message is lost. Presence requires slowing down, stepping away from the rush, and giving your full attention to what is happening in this moment. Presence also deepens connection with others and with yourself. When you are truly present in a conversation, you don't just hear words, you feel the meaning behind them. People sense this. They can feel when your attention is genuine, when you are not half distracted. In the same way, when you are present with yourself, you notice things you usually overlook, subtle emotions, quiet thoughts, gentle nudges of intuition. The universe often speaks through these inner signals, but you must be present to hear them. Without presence, life feels shallow and disconnected. With presence, everything becomes alive, meaningful, and interconnected. Living in presence does not mean abandoning the past or ignoring the future. It means holding them lightly while giving your full attention to the only place where life truly happens. Now, the universe speaks only in this language. It does not replay yesterday's mistakes, nor does it reveal tomorrow's secrets. It whispers in the unfolding of each moment. When you are present, the noise fades and clarity arises. The conversation with life begins. And what you discover is that the present moment is not just a small part of life. It is life itself. Gratitude is more than just saying thank you. It is a state of alignment. It shifts the way you experience the world, tuning your mind and heart to a higher frequency. When you are grateful, you notice abundance instead of lack, beauty instead of flaws, opportunity instead of limitation. This shift in perception is not accidental. Gratitude changes the lens through which you see life, and when your lens changes, the world changes with it. The universe responds to the energy you radiate. When you radiate gratitude, you begin to feel in harmony with life, and the whispers of the universe become easier to hear. Think of gratitude like tuning a radio. If your mind is filled with complaint, bitterness, or dissatisfaction, you are tuning into static. The messages of life are still being broadcast, but you can't hear them clearly. Gratitude clears the signal. It aligns you with a frequency where synchronicities occur, where intuition strengthens, where challenges reveal meaning. This doesn't mean difficulties vanish. It means you begin to see their hidden value. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, but it transforms how you hold it. Even in suffering, there is something to learn, something to appreciate, even if it is only the strength gained from enduring. The more you practice gratitude, the more fluent you become in the universe's language. Small acts of gratitude open the door, noticing a meal before you eat it, appreciating the breath that sustains you, feeling thankful for a friend's presence. All of these tune your awareness. Gratitude does not demand grand gestures, it thrives in simplicity. When you pause to thank life for the little things, you begin to realize they were never little. The sunrise, the laughter of a child, the comfort of shelter. These are miracles we often overlook. The universe is constantly offering gifts, but without gratitude, we move too quickly to recognize them. Gratitude slows us down long enough to receive what has always been given. Gratitude also transforms relationships. When you focus on what is good in another person rather than what is lacking, your connection deepens. Expressing sincere gratitude for someone makes them feel seen and valued, which strengthens the bond. In the same way, when you express gratitude toward life itself, you strengthen your relationship with the universe. It is as though gratitude says, I notice your gifts, I am listening. And like any relationship, the more appreciation you show, the more generous the other becomes. Gratitude builds a dialogue where life feels less like a struggle and more like a partnership. One of the most profound aspects of gratitude is that it exists only in the present moment. You cannot be grateful yesterday, and you cannot be grateful tomorrow. You can only be grateful now. In this way, gratitude anchors you in presence. It stops the endless chase for what you don't have and grounds you in the richness of what is already here. When you give thanks for this breath, this moment, this life, you suddenly realize how much you already possess. Gratitude is not about waiting for everything to be perfect. It is about recognizing the perfection that already exists in imperfection. Ultimately, gratitude tunes your frequency because it shifts you from separation to connection. Complaint separates you against life, you against others, you against circumstances. Gratitude unites you with life, you with others, you with the universe itself. When you are grateful, you realize that nothing is truly missing. You are part of something vast, something generous, something alive. And in that realization, the messages of the universe come through more clearly, more gently, and more consistently. Gratitude is not just a practice. It is a way of being, a way of listening, and a way of remembering that life is, at its core, a gift. The universe has always been speaking. In silence, in challenges, in intuition, in presence, and in the countless small lessons that surround us, it never stops whispering, but its voice is subtle, and in the noise of daily life, it's easy to miss. When you pause, when you listen, when you approach life with gratitude and openness, you discover that you are never without guidance. The answers we seek are not hidden in distant places. They are here in the unfolding of each moment, waiting for us to notice. To listen to the universe is to listen to yourself, to nature, to life itself. And when you truly listen, you realize something extraordinary. You are not separate from the universe. You are a part of its conversation. So the invitation is simple. Slow down, open your heart, and listen. The universe is speaking. It always has been.